This is Paul, Jeff, and Freya from Who Corner to Corner with a very special episode looking at something we've literally just all finished watching just seconds ago. I'm still in shock. And if you didn't get it the second time, I am still in shock. So this is Paul. I'm joined by Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Not really sure it's a Jeff state of mind. Let's come back to you, Jeff. We'll come back to you in just a moment. Let's go to Freya. Freya, hi. Okay, right. So anyway, I'm Paul, and it looks like I am solely representing the Who Corner to Corner podcast as we look at the power of the Doctor. It's just finished aired. I'm a little bit shaken up myself. I'm not going to lie, because I'm not entirely sure what I've just watched. Needless to say, it was blasting out at 100 miles a second, and I think the only way I can express it is... What? 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 What?
It was so cool, though.
But Freya, come on, you just said it was cool. It was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, very cool.
What was cool about it?
Everything.
Because you were quite emotional, right? Now, normally when Freya watches Doctor Who, we sit on the same sofa.
Yeah.
But today you were sitting with your mum.
I
right?
was.
She was sitting with her mum.
Watch it a bit.
Because she needed that level of support.
I didn't.
That
You were
level
just
of
taking up
emotional
the
support.
entire sofa.
I have grown somewhat since before. Jeff, how are you feeling, my friend? Because you weren't looking forward to this very much, were you?
No. Well, it was like when we texted earlier. It was a weird mix of emotions, sort of excited, for another episode, of course, but dreading the end of things. Like Freya said, it was awesome. They went out on an absolute high. That was proper film level. Chibnall was a madman.
Literally a
mad person.
And you say film. That was an hour and a half, right? So that's kind of like movie length, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, that's the classification for a movie. That length. There's a lot. I can't really get it all out. It was incredible, really. The scale of it, that opening on the train was so exciting and so well done, and the mystery of why did the Cybermen want the box, and why was there a little girl in it, and all of that, and then it just kind of went from there. I think everything that we possibly thought or expected wasn't the case at all, and it went bonkers with Rasputin playing.
Well, there was a lot of chatter online, wasn't there, from the trailer, and the Master was kind of the full beardy get up. He was sort of jokingly referred to as the Rasputin Master.
Yeah.
Oh wait, actually,
it's right.
Oh wait, actually, he is. Yeah.
He's doing a thing.
And there was some. Well, first of all, there was some really great, clever little camera shots in it.
Jeff wouldn't notice those things. Being a cameraman,
there was some cool things.
Jamie, well, the whole thing looked amazing, but Jamie Stone's work as director was superb. Like the shot when we followed Ace parachuting down, and then she went into the TARDIS, and then stood upright, and it
that was unexpected.
Blended into the
My
same
hand was
shot.
insulated at that point.
Indeed, yes. Your hand was by the cat. Yes, slight distraction.
But obviously, the main thing is that Jodie has regenerated, and I found my heart was pounding at numerous times throughout the episode, partly because of oh my god, what's going to happen, what's next, but the sort of excitement of all the action. And I guess I don't know how to talk about it all tonight, really. Should we try to go through it in order, or should we just get to the...
Frank, was your heart pounding as much as Jeff's?
My heart always pounds.
Was it really pounding?
Was
it above normal or below normal?
I don't know.
Did you feel excited?
Yes.
That's how you judge it. Did you feel a fear?
I haven't really stopped smiling.
She hasn't really stopped smiling. Well, okay, so let's kind of rewind then to the start. Then let's pick it apart a
I
little
don't
bit.
remember.
So right at the start of this, by way of a kind of pre-credit sequence, we get that massive thing on the train. I mean, what was that? That was about 10 minutes or so, wasn't it? I think.
Oh, so that must be the
about 10
longest
minutes, but
cold
it
open.
felt like a mini
It was
episode
long. It
in
was a
its
good
own.
5 minutes. Yeah. It looked. I loved all the colours on it. It looked brilliant, and so much action in it and excitement, and just seeing the team, the family working together there was really good. And the theories about Dan leaving were proven to be true. He got
Now,
he got
let me
hit.
just
Don't
point
get shot,
out.
bosh,
Let me just
you know.
point out at this stage. And you know as well,
I know
Freya,
some.
right? I've not been on social media for at least a week.
Yeah, you've been
right?
off most of the week.
I
Like
caught
7 days.
the
isn't it?
the tiniest whiff of a spoiler, right? And I didn't read the whole thing. I didn't even look at the image. I very quickly saw something, and I flicked up away, and it was gone. And I thought, right, that's it.
I had to do it the other day.
I'm not going on social media now. That is it. So I don't know any rumours about anything. The only thing I'm
Right.
aware of is the whole 10th Doctor David Tennant chatter, but that's been
been
in
going on for a
existence for a
while.
long time, and it's
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
unavoidable because obviously we know he's been filming for the next
been
one. So
filming, yeah.
it was always that thing about how did he
Yeah.
fit in, but so. Yeah, sorry, that was a little bit of a diversion. We haven't actually finished talking about the bullet train sequence. You've gone straight to Dan leaving, but that's fine. We can
Got
kind
the
of
orange spacesuits.
mate orange space.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
orange spacesuits. That was
we obviously
great.
knew they were
nice
going
to
to come back in.
We're
Didn't
in
we?
the
We'd
trailer.
seen the trailer and we'd seen the photos and everything.
Yeah.
But of course we get the return of the Cybermasters. What do you think about the
Yeah.
Cybermasters, Jeff?
Well, I think their design is great. Ray Hellman's done wonderful on there. They're so kind of flamboyant with the sort of Time Lord headpiece things on them and all the Gallifreyan, inscriptions all over the body and the sort of the parts on the black, aren't they, and silver, or mostly black. So I think they look great, and I really like the idea that they can just keep on going. They all got shot and then they started glowing again, which I thought, I've kind of forgot that they did that. So that was quite a nice surprise again. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I really liked them. What did you think?
I think I think in terms of this episode, they worked pretty well, and I think also because that appeared in the first opening sequence of the story, and obviously it has a bigger impact much later on, doesn't it? So it's kind of like a Chekhov's gun type of thing. We leave the solution to the big problem that's going to happen towards the end of the episode, but the answer is right here at the start of the episode. The Cybermasters regeneration energy, which obviously gives them the power to reverse what the Master does to the Doctor throughout the thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice and tidy. I also like the fact that the Cybermen weren't just these Cybermen, right? It was actually Ashad and the sort of normal Cybermen, I think. Oh no, they did all regenerate, didn't they? In the end. Oh my god, it's so confusing. I'm gonna have to watch it again just to get it all straight in my
And
head.
as soon as it finished, I was like, I need to watch that again.
It was. Go on.
So I was going to say there was a huge amount to take in it, and
There was a lot to take in,
I
and
thought
I'm
it
not
was-
getting any younger,
yeah.
mate. The ability of my spongy grey
He's
matter.
really old.
Shut up. The ability of my brain to actually process images and stories at this pace is fast diminishing. But nonetheless, it was. I enjoyed it. It was good.
it's feature length. You don't stick a lot of stuff in if you don't think you've got the kind of time for it. And I think that everything was handled brilliantly. We're talking a bit about the companions and stuff.
There was a lot of story though, wasn't there? There was a
lot of story. Yeah,
crammed into
a
it.
lot about
but,
the companions as well.
There was.
There was a lot, and it was really, really nicely done, I think. And hopefully, anyone who was fearing that Chibnall would, make a mess of things with them will be pleased, because I thought it was, I thought they did great stuff with them. There was a lot of story, but that's not a bad thing, if Yeah, I think it rattled along brilliantly, and I love that it was leaping all over the place and in two different time periods and different planets and all of that
because
stuff.
that's Doctor Who, isn't it? That's what Doctor Who does brilliantly. We got time at the central core of the story. We got two different locations in two different time periods. We've actually got more than two locations because we got that cyber planet type thing as well, which we were kind of speculating it might be Mondas or Telos, but we were kind of halfway there. It was a cyber conversion planet, so that was that's a tick in our favour. I think we were on the right tracks. That's always good. That's always good when we speculate and it turns out to be vaguely true.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing. But it was. I mean, it was a lot of story. Frey, you said it there. It was a story that featured the companions a lot.
Technically, you said that. I just kind of stole it, but nobody else knows.
I was letting you have it as well, and now you've just thrown it back.
What?
You should have taken it.
What?
You should have just taken it. Say it was your idea.
I don't have good lying skills.
She does have really good lying skills. Honestly, half the time I think she's telling the truth. And then I realise, it's a lie! Sorry, we're getting distracted again. So, yes, a lot of story. The companions. So, okay, so it was a surprise to me, just going back to Dan then, Jeff, that Dan basically threw the towel in quite early on, didn't he? So we had the pre-credit sequence.
I didn't think it would be
had
the
titles.
Of the trailer. But
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not really in it, is he?
And it took me like 4 times to watch it to actually notice he was in it.
Yeah.
So not much of
then
Dan
I was
in the
like,
trailer.
maybe he won't really be involved. And then in my head, I couldn't think of where he would fit in a way, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I was like, might leave.
Interesting.
I hadn't seen any like else's theories, so I tried not to.
No, me neither.
And John wasn't at the premiere
Yes,
event the other day
that made me think
either,
of it as well.
which
Right.
Was scheduling maybe because I think he's touring, but maybe he wasn't there because he wasn't in it much. So yeah, I was kind of on one hand surprised and also not surprised that he left that early on, and that was probably quite good in a way because it did give quite a nice moving departure and a chance to sort of the Doctor was quite not cold about it, but she didn't want to get too involved and because
it was more like the Doctor of old. I thought where the fourth Doctor had literally just kind of shut the door and
drop him in the wrong place.
That sort of thing.
And this Doctor, I think, was doing it for emotional reasons and being closed off. So, but I think removing Dan early enabled some of the stuff later to happen narratively, but also prevented it from being too cluttered. And I think it worked really well having Yaz do a lot of stuff on her own and show how great she'd become through the Doctor. So yeah, it was sad to see him go, and I liked Yaz. He said, "Oh, I'll call you," and she said, "I'll ghost you."
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really nice kind of sum up of their banter. Yeah. And his house was still gone as well. I was quite pleased to see that.
He should have had it in his pocket still. I don't know if he's probably.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm
gonna have to stay around my mums and dads now, aren't I? That is quite funny.
So it worked. That was nice. It's a bit like with Ryan and Graham when they left. It was quite real. I thought. It wasn't kind of a big thing, and it was just quite refreshing to have a couple of departures that were not massive and filled with pain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what did you think?
Me? Yeah, as I said, I was quite surprised that he left quite early on, but I think you're right. I think it left a bit of space in the story that was then filled by other companions, and we had a few. Now we obviously knew from the trailers plural, that Tegan and Ace were going to be coming back, and I was really looking forward to that, and to see Janet Fielding and Sophie Aldred's names flash up in the actual title.
Oh yeah, that was great, wasn't
fabulous.
It?
It was like all my classic Doctor Who moments kind of came back, but there was obviously more to be had later on. Coming back to that in a bit.
Okay, you want to?
Yeah. Because I want to talk about Sophie and Janet. Tegan and Ace back in the story. They were back in quite early on, weren't they? We didn't have to wait long
early,
until
actually.
we saw them.
No, and I really liked it. It was so good seeing them again, and I felt that the but they had quite a bit of input into their storylines and things between them, and I really liked the way that Tegan was still quite kind of bolshy and fiery, whereas Ace was not quite so much, but was sort of, there was a bit of trepidation, wasn't there? They were both really nervous about it, and meeting the Doctor, and after they'd had their first meeting, Tegan said something like, "Well, I think I handled that pretty well."
That was it. Yeah. Well, you kind of think so. If we're going by the continuity in the TV program alone, I think we've still got that. The last time Tegan saw the Doctor was when she ran out on him at the end of Revelation of the Daleks, one of Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor's final stories. And she'd had enough. She'd had enough of all the shooting, all the violence, all the horror, the death count in that story, which is massive. It's quite a dark story, and at the end of it, Tegan just can't cope. She's had enough, and she runs
that's why
out.
she became a hermit.
The Doctor's really sad to see her go. I think you see it in his face at that time that maybe this has been a bit much. Maybe he hasn't quite been aware of the effect that his travels and what he gets up to has on his companions, and of course you can see it affect him massively. And then just after he's gone, so he takes the TARDIS off, Tegan then runs back into the building, but it's too late. The Doctor's gone, and she doesn't see him again until this story right here. So there's a lot of
30 odd years, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of established in the narrative, isn't it? So they have that little exchange between them. 38 years. Thank you.
38 years. Yeah, and she said she'd become a hermit. She'd been doing, volunteer help work around the world.
Well, she's in Romania in this one, isn't she? And
was it
Romania?
Bolivia, maybe?
Romania.
Yeah. And she said she'd had two husbands.
Yeah.
And a son she spoke to and stuff. Yeah.
And also,
so it paints. What the present she
has
gets.
a little Ashad, doesn't she? A little Ashad dolly.
Yes.
Which she thinks is from the Doctor. And of course, we know
and she thought it was
that's not.
Now that was quite clever because when it started to enlarge, we'll talk about Ace in a minute. I thought, it's just gonna, it's gonna turn into Ashad Big, and there was obviously a bit of explanation as how he cloned him again, didn't he? But then the Master's voiceover said, he's a Russian doll, and then it was like a shell, and it opened up, and all the Cybermen came out, which I thought was quite a nice. Yeah, nice touch, so that was pretty cool, and led to some nice action in Unit HQ there. So what did you think of Ace's return?
I love Ace completely. You know that as much as anything else, Jeff.
She was so good. Well, they were both brilliant.
On form. They both were.
Yeah.
Ace and
they were
Tegan,
both integral to the plot. Well, yeah, they were integral to the plot, weren't they? You had updates on the characters and where they are in their lives now, their feelings towards the Doctor then and now, and they absolutely took part in things. I loved towards the end when the Doctor arrived with Kate and Tegan, and Tegan said, "I absolutely am coming in the TARDIS."
That's right, because the Doctor seemed to want to keep them out. I don't think that was the intention, but obviously Tegan and Ace seemed to feel as though they were being excluded from the TARDIS. And we did get that moment as well with Yaz when she's introduced to the two ladies, and it's like, "We used to be you." Does she say something like that?
Yeah. Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
And that is a moment for Yaz, isn't it?
And it reminds me a bit of I've completely forgotten the name, but the David Tennant episode where he meets Sarah Jane
Reunion
again, and she has, that's the one, and she has a conversation with Billy, doesn't she? That's sort of similar themes. I was you, and he moves on, and he sort of forgets people, but like they said in this one, they never forget them, but it's that sort of pain of going back. And I suppose probably Jodie's Doctor was a bit embarrassed about things from the past and was trying to keep them at arm's length a little bit.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know if I got that. I think the Doctor in this story is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. There's a lot of stuff kicking off.
There's a lot going on
story,
in her brain.
Yeah, we've got Daleks. We've got a version of the Master in the present day in 2022, taking in kidnapping seismologists and something about paintings. I'm not sure what happened with the paintings.
Yeah, he put himself into all the paintings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that was just kind of bizarre.
Got taken down because of.
And then we have the Master Doom Rasputin in 1916.
Yeah.
We have the Cyber
I did like it
planet. We have the energy thing dressed up as disguised as a little girl.
Yeah, the Daleks sending a message of betrayal.
That's right. Yeah,
betraying themselves, but I wasn't entirely clear whether that was like that Dalek was genuine there. Or
I think it was.
It was genuine. They caught.
I think it
the
was.
Other Daleks
yeah,
said it was
they
a
caught.
traitor.
Yeah, they caught it because I thought, he was just playing her, but then actually no, he wasn't. I just want to say one thing. We'll go back to Ace in a sec, but and we'll talk about Sasha in a moment as well because he was so good. But when he hypnotised the guy and he got the guy to say, "You are my master and I will obey you," which I thought was quite a nice little line. Throwback. Yeah. So, it was great seeing Sophie again, and you could tell they were both having a really good time with it. And also, I thought it was quite nice because, Janet hasn't acted other than her Big Finish work since she left the show, has she? And I thought I read an interview. She said she felt quite nervous, but was sort of slotted back in straight away. Well, she was fab in it, And,
I mean, she was Tegan, wasn't she? Right from the off.
Absolutely.
An older Tegan, but still, like you said, still very bolshy, still very headstrong, still complaining about things in a way as well. She, when she was given her little mission to do to go down at the basement, she had a heroic moment, didn't she? When the Cybermen suddenly realised that she's on the other side, in the wall, I think.
Yes.
Puts it.
Yeah.
And then they all burst through. They start firing. She realises the only way to go down is
jump,
and she goes down the ladder. And then she gets there, and she's still complaining. And it was so fun, but she does it, right? Because that's Tegan. Tegan complains endlessly, but she still does it. She's still heroic. She still has her moments, and it was so great to see her do that. And of course, Ace gets her signature moment as well, doesn't it? I mean, it seems to be that over the years, obviously, Ace has done a lot of iconic things in Doctor Who, and one of the probably what is now become the most iconic is whacking the Dalek with the baseball bat. Yeah. And she gets to do that again. She gets to blow up with Nitro 999. And it was great. And she still comes out with Wicked, and she's got a bomber jacket, and she's pulls it up.
She had it stored away.
And she still calls the Doctor Professor. Brilliant. I love that. Yeah. That was good.
So, I thought they were great in it, and obviously we'll talk in a bit about the other surprises in this episode that kind of connect with them. But I thought Sacha Dhawan was absolutely fantastic.
He was crazy, man.
He was so mad.
Such a psychotic master.
Yeah, but he was cranked up to 11. Really I loved him doing his lecture thing where and he sent them that little video message, and then they take him into unit and like he's poking his head out the lift and they're pulling him back in and he's coming out again, and I can't remember all the things he was saying, but he was just on fire. Really, and I think Chibnall gave him some great stuff to work with, and he talked about how much he enjoyed this and being a part of the whole thing. And I think
this is good now, because now I can go back and I can read all these interviews. I haven't read any of the interviews.
You haven't read any of them, right? Well, I must say they didn't give anything away.
No, I know, but I honestly, know me, Jeff, I want to divorce myself from it entirely. I literally shut myself down as regards any of that stuff. I just do not engage, because I so want to just experience the thing as it is presented on the night at the time. So, and I know everybody wants that, and that's fine. But for me, that is it. So I go into it as clean and as cold as I can, because that's just me. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice that I can actually go back and read all that stuff now. But I'll enjoy reading it, having watched the episode.
What's gonna happen.
Yeah, because then I can kind of relate to it.
Yeah. He was. He was just
great.
So good in
you
it,
were on fire.
Clearly having a great time, and also there was some nice stuff with, with his, character as well. And we'll come to what I felt was a massive twist, surprise in the episode with the two of them that I didn't see coming at all. And then how he was kind of playing it after that. But he's just glorious. When the planet blew up at the end and the TARDIS flew away, I wondered if we might have seen a little ship or something disappear, but we didn't.
There
but,
was
you
a
know,
little. I think it was the energy thing, wasn't it?
It was the energy thing,
What was it
yeah.
called?
So I
Do you
thought,
remember?
he could have.
Began with a Q
no.
or something. And
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
I'm
but you know,
tired.
the master in some form will come
yes,
back again.
absolutely. The master
I'm
always
sure.
comes back.
Yes. So what I don't know what to talk about next. Really, I feel like we should save our Yaz and Doctor stuff for a bit. What did you think of the enforced regeneration?
That
so
was
sad.
Oh, Frey thinks it was sad. Obviously,
So sad.
Do you know, I was shocked in that moment. You know, there'd been rumours flying around, and now the end of the episode kind of that's plausible now for me.
Makes a lot of
bearing in
sense.
mind that setup, yeah, you know, so yeah, kind of is passable. But yeah, when you know, he erased her. Oh, and that bit when they were in the Master's lecture and he trunk everyone and he said to the Doctor, you know, this is where I erase you from existence.
Not just kill you.
The way he delivered that, chilling. You know, the way he said it, and then he managed it. You know, he got her in the thing and he took over.
Yeah.
And
that was like just about halfway through the episode, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was halfway through.
Pretty
yeah.
much. So it's like, wow, are we going to see the 13th Doctor again? Or is that
that's,
it?
That's what I thought.
You know,
yeah.
so it keeps you
How
on
are we
your
gonna see
toes,
her
kind of
again?
keeps you, or kept me on the edge of the seat, kind of watching, thinking, what is going to happen now?
Yeah.
Is he now the Doctor? Is the Doctor now him? And then quite clearly, the Master was there, right, in the Doctor's body. That's what it was. Whereas the Doctor's kind of spiritual self is suddenly in this weird zone, this weird kind of edge place. Mate, did I fall off the sofa?
He basically did.
I basically did, because I hadn't anticipated or any of that stuff.
No. I was like hitting Mum.
When David Bradley first appeared,
David Bradley's first Doctor, sitting there
first of all,
in a chair next to a telegraph pole in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and then. Oh,
well, hold on.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Jodie in her dark coat, and I thought, is this a fugitive Doctor thing? And then we saw David, and then Colin lied to us.
What did I say, Freya?
You said that. I was like, he couldn't tell you. It's a spoiler.
Of course he couldn't know. But now, do you remember sometime last year a photo went around on Twitter of Paul McGann, Sylvester, Colin, and possibly David Bradley at a restaurant in Cardiff area?
Did you see that?
Did you see it, Freya? And they were with maybe Matthew Sweet or someone, you know, one of the guys who presents some of the stuff. And people were like, why are they in Cardiff at the same time as Power of the Doctor's being filmed? And and now it's obvious. But that bit, and I think Peter must have been there as well. But that bit was fantastic. I hope that they were all there together for that filming.
I love that. I'll tell you what I liked about it as well, because it gave us the moments between Ace and the Doctor and Tegan and the Doctor that they deserved, I think. Because it would have been nice to see that coming from the 13th Doctor. We haven't seen it but coming from their doctors. And so they're using that device of the hologram.
Yeah, the
brilliant.
hologram
it was
thing.
So clever
because
to give us that
kind
moment.
of gave them closure from their Doctor. Just seeing the 13th Doctor
Yes, it
isn't
did.
gonna
Exactly.
completely fulfill their things that they think the Doctor left them or they messed up and the Doctor hates them. So seeing their Doctor,
I'll be honest,
all this stuff.
the scene with Peter and Janet was really lovely, and then with Sylvester and Sophie, then that one was my first tear. That, you know, it really was. It was quite effective to kind of forgive each other and move forward and things and repair
the thing
stuff.
Is, with Ace, we don't really know what happened with Ace in the end, do we? Because we've never seen the end of her story. We've seen different endings to her story in the different media, but how it actually happened,
TV.
No, don't really
not on
know.
screen. I mean, the closest is in At Childhood's End, where there's flashbacks and she obviously meets Jodie and Ryan and everyone in there, and I guess that's not it's not canon, that one, but it still works somewhat to kind of flesh out her character a bit more.
Maybe,
but it was that in the episode the what do they call it, the AI hologram thing that had accumulated all this data across her cells and was able to be interactive and things. It worked brilliantly to kind of. It was a bit like the idea of the Matrix thing that you saw in the Timeless Children. All the info stored there, and the consciousnesses are still there to respond and react and remember and things, even if they're not quote unquote real.
Well, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, this is it. Throughout the whole of Doctor Who, well, since it was introduced in the Fourth Doctor's era, the Matrix, this supercomputer made up of all the store of gathered Time Lord life and experience, is super intelligent. So if this is a kind of tapping into that or some variation on it, even a splinter of it or something, then it's fine. And we get that sort of AI in Superman as well, don't we? We get a sort of it's the same kind of thing. Basically, we get Superman's mum and dad, and they can converse as a holographic AI interface and actually have a conversation with Supes and the rest of them. So this isn't really too far removed from that at all. But it works for me because the technology is already there within Doctor Who. It doesn't have to come in from outside and just be the answer to everything.
It
so there's
changes for each person,
which is great.
Experiences based on past conversations, something like that.
And it seemed for a moment as well that the Fifth Doctor's hologram got real for the right moment, was more solid.
Yes, it did.
Just for that moment when Peter Davison's eyes expressed his sorrow.
His face became more solid,
finally got to have
didn't
that
it?
moment. For him to say sorry to her, it was good. And he said Adric as well, wasn't it? What am I thinking now? She goes, and he says Adric, Cybermen
and
Adric. There's that story, that since Earthshock, which is a story when Adric buys it at the hands of the Cybermen. You've seen that, haven't you?
Shocking.
It's like the Doctor's relationship with Cybermen has never been the same since then. And it came back in Villa Diodati when the Doctor is raging at Ashad and the Cyberium. There's that. And no, she's raging at the companions to do as they're told, that it's not a flat team. The team structure isn't flat. And right now, at this moment, she is in charge and they do what she damn well says. That rage, that's where it comes from. And we kind of see a bit of that through this story as well. And of course, we got Bill as well.
Yes, there was a subtle mention of Bill, wasn't there, in Villa Diodati
exactly.
as well.
So the Doctor's relationship with the Cybermen has grown, and it's one that is more than any other villain, I think. The Doctor loses more to the Cybermen than everything. The battles may be won, but the cost of those battles, the cost of those victories to the Doctor, is huge, and it seems more so with the Cybermen than with Daleks or Centaurans or any of the others.
It's because they're the ones that Adric was the first companion to pass away in an adventure, really, wasn't he?
We had a couple die in the first Doctor's era.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was, but were they companions? Yeah, that's the thing. Well, we had what was it? I forget her name now. Sarah Kingdom in the Masters Dalek plan. No, that was a good reference. Do you remember that one? I'm calling it the Daleks Master Plan. Obviously, a play on the Dalek.
The Masters Dalek plan.
Yes.
Or the Dalek Master Plan.
I made
Can't
a bit
quite
of a
see
hash of
how
that,
it
didn't I?
works.
Yeah. So there's that, but yes, we had a companion die in there, and we had two because we had Katarina die in there as well. So Katarina was a companion from the Mythmakers, which was the story before the Daleks Master Plan, and so she'd been throughout all of those 4 episodes in First Doctor's era, and then in the following story, the Daleks Master Plan, she dies, and it's a horrific death. It still exists.
Right.
It's on one of these DVDs somewhere, it's an outtake, and she dies in an airlock. And Stephen, the Doctor's other companion, is trying to get her out. And there's this thing where he's banging on the doors and raging and everything, and he can't do anything. He can't get her out there. She's on the other side, and it's awful. And then there's Sarah Kingdom who comes into it, she gets aged by some sort of time gun, but she's only there for that story anyway. But kind of like a Captain Jack sort of thing, but the Captain Jack who didn't survive, which Captain Jack doesn't actually, does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like in like specials when you have like a David Tennant specials.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. So sorry, you're right. It was off topic a bit, but yes. But I guess the thing is that when companions die, it tends to be a bit of a moment in Doctor Who. You know, they're rare events.
It's quite rare. Yeah. So I want to talk about Yaz and the Doctor, of course, but I kind of feel like saving that for the end. So, what did you think when Graham reappeared? He'd been rumoured, but I must admit I was really happy to see him.
I was quite happy, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Was you quite happy?
Happy.
Did you know he was coming back?
No, I haven't really seen any rumours for it.
Right. It was because he was seen on set one day.
Other people's theories.
You do get annoyed at other people's theories, don't you?
I get annoyed at my theories. I don't like theorising.
That's why you shouldn't headcanon it.
My head what I think's going to happen, then I just end up getting disappointed.
Because it doesn't happen.
And I don't want that. And I don't want to think, that person's right, that person's right. Oh, I was right here. I don't want to think that. I just want to watch it. So, yeah. I want Doctor Who content on my view page, but I don't want.
That's what you were saying earlier, wasn't it? She was saying she hated clicking on and seeing all these things, but had to click on them because otherwise you don't get any Doctor Who content on your view page.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Bradley was.
No
idea. 20 hours on TikTok.
Yeah, Bradley Walsh was seen on set.
Great. I mean, I loved it when he walked in. It was
so
a real surprise for me. I was another punch the air moment.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that he was.
Graham.
It was, true. But he held out his psychic paper, didn't he? And Ace was just like, it says you're a friend of the Doctor, and then they had a tiny little flirt, didn't they?
They did.
She said, what's your name?
Are we going to see?
Yeah, she said, I'm Ace.
And Graham picking up.
Ace and Graham, yeah. He deserves to be happy again, yeah. So what did you think of the companion support group? And Graham and Dan obviously found
I'm
themselves,
surprised
which
they
was
haven't done
nice.
it before, actually. But I mean, it was a really tearful moment. I mean, to see Katie Manning as Jo Grant and William Russell as Ian. Honestly, Bonnie Langford.
Bonnie was there as well.
Great.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. But I think
I saw today that Bonnie Langford was rumoured.
Yeah, but I think it was Ian Chesterton actually that
you
got
really
the lump in my throat. I mean, it's so brilliant to see him back in. Even if just for a sort of cameo like this,
and seeing Katie there as well was lovely, and she said, "Oh, I think we'll be here for a long time." You can see Nick Briggs and Jason Haigh Ellery going, "Oh, hello, there's an idea here." So expect to see companions of the Doctor in another year or two. I mean, I reckon.
It's surprising in a way that hasn't happened before. I always had the thing in the back of my head that actually there has always been a support group for companions of the Doctor.
I just think they must get together because you have this whole unique experience, but then the Doctors have all these lives, so you're like, well, there must be others. The Doctor doesn't travel alone. There must be other people, so then you kind of have to reach out to find them. The one
but how do you find them?
Why are they all in the same place?
But that's it. How would you find anyone? So this way, a lot of them were there at the same time and got together. So
Ace and Tegan were checking in on Yaz as well.
Oh yeah,
that was
nice. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah. So Vinder was here as well, which was quite cool. He had a good part to play. I mean, it was a little bit. He did do a lot, but it I suppose it could have been Dan, but it would have been a bit convoluted to get him in there. But it was nice to see him, to see an old face again. Yeah. And it made me, I was thinking as we watched it, there was a tweet ages and ages ago before Flux, and it was sort of welcoming, Jacob Anderson to the cast, and it said, "Vinder will break your heart," and this sort of thing. And obviously that didn't sort of quite come into play. In the end in Flux, although I enjoyed his story with Belle and the baby and things, but we know that plans changed on Flux and things didn't quite they didn't have the number of episodes they were going to, so maybe that storyline changed a little bit, but I still I cool. I like him. I mean, I've been
so I was happy to see him. I've been watching the whole of the 13th Doctor's era, and I timed it reasonably well, actually.
You did time it very well. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
I thought you had. Yeah.
For me, it was only a couple of episodes ago that I saw him a couple of nights back, really. So it was good to see him back.
The Doctor went, how's your family? Bye. Just didn't wait for an answer. One thing I did realise is I was watching it because Mum was there when we were watching it, and she goes, "Who's he?" And I couldn't really explain it. I was like, a friend.
That's the thing. If you don't watch it,
to explain it.
Yeah. Like my wife wasn't really paying full attention, and she said,
"No, your mum was on the phone most of it."
Who's that?
She's playing Scrabble.
Right. So my wife went, "Who's that?" in reference to the Master in Jodie's coat, and I said, "It's the Master." Why is he dressed like that? Blah, 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 tried to explain it, and then later when he was back in his Rasputin form, "Who's that?" "It's the Master." "Why does he look like that now?"
Because you're not paying attention. Look, that's why.
I'm trying to concentrate. Don't ask me these questions right now.
So there's two. So there's two things here as well, right? So firstly, we get the Master when he's the Doctor, literally putting on all the Doctor's clothes,
all the outfits.
We got the 7th Doctor's pullover. We got the recorder. We got the trousers. Celery on the lapel. We got the scarf.
13th.
Tie, scarf.
It was
so that
all
was
there.
Everything.
I like that.
And
he still had the ear cuff. I
thought he probably got
he had the ear cuff as well.
Underpants before then, actually.
Stop! You're so weird.
Scratchy underwear.
But there was one little bit when they reversed the regeneration, and he said something like, "Don't do this to me, Doctor. Or don't leave me like this." There's that hint that despite all the maniacal glee and the plans to take over the world and blah blah blah, which never really work out for him, maybe at his core, he don't really like being a bad guy. And it's all a bit of a cry for help and attention.
I don't know, mate. If
it depends what Master.
That's what
I think right. This one
is very
unstable.
Yeah,
He's
initially
so cool.
I agree, and I think he was such a maniac. But maybe just at the end there, I don't know. Maybe being in the Doctor's body, there was memories and stuff going around, and he could see things, and it kind of changed things a little bit. But yeah, he is an outright maniac, and I love his glee.
And they're a bit different.
Yeah, like Missy had a bit of redemption and stuff, didn't she?
Missy was different again, wasn't she? She was almost a redemptive master.
Yeah, because you went from Missy being like the Master, and then with her bit with John Sims' Master, to like going to Jodie's era, and then suddenly, or after having a series, you have Sacha Dhawan's Master, who's just a completely different side again, and such a like more villainous.
He's
than
unhinged.
I think Missy was, and he's so, so cool.
But there is a bit in, I can't remember whether it's Ascension of the Cybermen or the Timeless Children, but either way, that story, the end of season 12, that finale, when the Master shrinks Ashad and he picks up the little tiny figure, and he's close in on the camera and the mic, and he's like, just for a moment, I thought it was all going to kick off, like, because Ashad's got the death particle, and the Master wasn't sure whether the death particle would blow up and destroy him and everything, and he says something like it would have been a relief if that had happened. And it was so it's almost like he's kind of welcoming. He's dicing so close to death that actually, if he went too far, he would embrace it, And it's. But I think as long as that is at his own hands, it's his own decision. As long as it's not the Doctor who kills him, or any of the Doctor's companions, or anything the Doctor does, anything the Doctor affects to happen that ends in the Master's destruction, then he's fine with it. If he dies as a consequence of his own thing, and if the Doctor dies with him, fine, that's brilliant, I can do that. He is, the psychology of this Master is just unreal. The way he's written, the way he's performed, it's like you guys have said, he's so, you can't not listen to him. You can't take your eyes off the screen when he's on there, and the camera plays to it, and I noticed as well, actually, I noticed on this tonight that Jodie's got this face she pulls for these confrontations with the Master, and it's only when the two of them facing each other together. So the first time I saw it was in Spyfall Part 2, and then again in Timeless Children, and then again here, and it's just a face that she has where she's looking at the Master with complete contempt and yet also a kind of a sorrow as well. She just does it brilliantly. And then we get that nice line in this one where she says, "We used to be the best of friends."
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah, and that flashes back a bit to Sound of the Drums, is it?
Yeah,
Where you see the Doctor and the Master and the untempered schism and stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's a big Finish Sasha Master set coming maybe next year.
Mate, I'm
so
going to have to do some catching up. I haven't listened to the Derek Jacobi ones either. I haven't listened to those yet.
I will look forward to listening to him again and rewatching him in this episode.
I'm going to have to give up with Big Finish. I honestly can't keep up. I've got a stack of them now that I haven't even listened to for the ones I've bought recently.
Yeah, there is a lot, but it's always good. It's just it's just finding the time. So let's talk about.
One sec before I forget. Before we just wrap this one up, just have to say, right, there was a total Russell T Davies moment in there, right, which is when the Rasputin Master triggers off the disco beats.
Yes, So
it's just it made me remember it when he said "Sound of Drums" because it's very like that, isn't it? Was it the "Sound of Drums" or the one after that?
Like
Either
that.
way, it's that story.
Yeah, he triggers
he's
some
got
music.
Dr. Dobby in the little cage, and the whole thing kicks off with I can't remember the song now, but very much like that. The modern era Master does like a disco beat.
Boogie.
So, and he does a little dance routine, doesn't he? And then you get this moment where a Cyberman just looks at a Dalek, and a Dalek eye stalk looks around and goes, "What the?" Just whatever, you know. But there's a sort of danger to it. Again, it's just an expression of him just being completely unhinged. Anyway, sorry. Continue, Jeff. I interrupted you, sunshine. Go on. What are you saying?
That's all right. What was I going to say? So, what did you think of Yaz in this episode?
What do I think? What do we think of Yaz?
Yaz was a queen. Slay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, innit?
Yeah. She was awesome. Yeah.
What was that word? Slay. I don't know what that is.
Slay. Now, how's that spelt for her? SLEIGH or SLAY? Like Buffy style. Well, she has been a present to us all from Chris Chibnall, so yeah, see what I've done there. She was brilliant. Mandip is so good. She's such a warm, person, actress, but the character as well. And I loved seeing her take charge here. And she had that little, manual that she took out of the
she did.
Her little
hole in the
notes.
TARDIS and put her post-it notes around and stuff. And when the Doctor was gone, Yaz absolutely had her back.
She did, didn't she? She rose to the occasion.
She pushed she pushed the Master away, took the TARDIS, went off, got help, sorted things out, and
if you think about all the
thank
years
God for her.
that, since Yaz first met the Doctor, how many years it's been? Because obviously you had that bit where it was just her and Dan for 4 years, and you had the bit you had loads of bits where she's just been on her own when the Doctor's just disappeared.
This is true.
So she's got that experience, and I was thinking about it earlier because when Dan left, I was like, oh, he hasn't been in it for long. But then I realised he had those 4 years just with Yaz. So I was like, actually, no, it has been quite a long time.
Yeah. And before that, there was 10 months when the Doctor was in the space jail, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Yaz has spent a fair bit of time.
Yeah, she was in the
and trying to figure out how the TARDIS works and everything.
And actually, even in that one as well, Revolution of the Daleks, Yaz is the one who is figuring out how to find the Doctor wherever she is. She knows the Doctor isn't, still around somewhere, probably needs help. How can they find her? She's got all those things mapped out on the TARDIS walls. And that drive she has, that commitment to the Doctor.
She always has little
is
notes
just
everywhere as well, because like you said, she had it all mapped out the wall.
Palm of
she
her
had
hand.
what would the Doctor do on her hand.
That's right.
She's had all her notes that sticks around the TARDIS and everything. She's very
driven.
Yeah.
Very driven.
Yeah. So what? I think she's brilliant, and I love the. We've talked about this before. She's real and she's human, and she saved the day here in many ways. Well, they all did, but she had a pivotal part to play in it, and this whole story was epic and grand, but still about people. it didn't lose sight of that. I
think it's very much about the companions, which is really good given
because the
title.
power of the Doctor is their companion.
Well, it's in there exactly.
It's the companions
in them,
that. What you mean, like it's the companions that power the Doctor?
Yeah.
It's as true, and also
Well,
when
and
the
vice
Doctor's
versa.
alone, we see so many times when the Doctor's alone, they're not really functioning very
True,
well.
yes.
They
David
either
Tennant
get
Doctor
very
goes psycho.
depressed or psycho.
Yeah.
Like they
Yes.
just become. But when they're filled with companions and friends and people to enjoy the traveling with, then they just get filled with this joy. And yes, they do get angry, and yes, they do get all these feelings, but they become in a way more human and less depressed, being like, oh, I'm really old. Oh no, life sucks, kind of thing. Whereas when they're with the companions,
it's been noted.
They experience life
It's
through
been
their
noted.
eyes almost, don't they? So it's
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well, it
someone all the time experience it for the first time, even though they're so experienced.
That's it. It rejuvenates them. Yeah, and it's been mentioned a few times that the Doctor needs, companions to keep them grounded. I think, and I thought it was really nice as well that Jodie had her extended fam here. And you could tell like that. That meant a lot to her. So when that tentacle creature, carbonara thing, whatever it was called, was blasting its
death ray,
light ray, and it hit the Doctor.
Yeah, she got a swipe there, didn't she?
Oh yeah, she was down, and then Yaz came
Don't
out.
worry, guys, I've got this.
Yeah, and she got a real hero shot there,
carrying the
her,
Doctor's body back to the TARDIS in her arms.
And
which was that?
And,
did the 12th Doctor
sobbing.
do that with Bill?
No, 11 did it with. Oh yes, he did. 11 did it. Well, actually, did it happen? Because there was a poster of 11 carrying Amy surrounded by Daleks.
Yeah, but did that actually happen in the episode, or was it just?
I don't think it did. Or it was
Asylum of the Daleks, wasn't it?
I can't really remember. Yeah, it was. But 12 did do it with Bill at one point. Yeah. So this again kind of shows, the particularly to 13 the importance of the fam, and they carried her, and in many ways, I think.
And I think also it's like the Doctor always inspires people to go out and change the world, and
even
I
when
think
they
that's
leave
the thing
the Doctor,
with all.
they still try and carry on in her legacy.
Yeah.
Which is another aspect of the power of the Doctor to inspire and change and get people to be the best they can and to stand up.
So even when they leave, they still have
But
bits of knowledge.
So let's talk about Jodie before we talk about the well, I don't know how to say it. The
regeneration.
The whole regeneration bit, because I want to say that the bit of the pair of them sitting on top of the TARDIS eating ice cream was really lovely and beautiful shots, and I wasn't sure how they were gonna play the whole thing, but I think they kind of
they'd get down. Like, how would they get back in? That's
jump.
No, but how? Because they'd have to jump and then go inside and go backwards. It was just
we've seen them
my mind.
crash into the TARDIS a number of times, so I think doesn't have a gravity field, because when Ace went in, she came in horizontally and then sort of turned onto her feet. Yeah, but I thought it was lovely.
They had a trampoline net that.
Yes, they had it. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I worry about these things.
Clearly you do.
My brain is a bit special.
Oh dear me. So sorry. So what were we talking about?
I thought it was the pair of them
about
sitting on top of the
TARDIS.
eating
It
ice
was
cream.
lovely. It was a lovely moment.
Not only was it a gorgeous shot, a lovely shot of them sitting there with space behind them and all the colours and the earth, and fantastic. But the dialogue there was, I think they kind of admitted, that they had the feelings for each other, but events and time had kind of taken it away from them, and yeah, said let's not say goodbye, because
she was
then it's
filled with emotion.
Yeah. Mandip's tears. Oh,
it was quite interesting. I thought how Yaz chose to I mean, they both chose to walk away from each other at that point, didn't they? You know, the Doctor says, I think I've got to do this bit on my own.
And Yaz didn't fight that.
No, she respected it. And it's almost like, you know, when you want to remember someone when they meant them, how they were when they meant the most to you.
Yes.
You know, and you can't take how they're going to be after that. You just can't really mentally process it.
Well, do you remember when, you know, Rose saw 9, you know, regenerate, and also Clara saw 11 regenerate, you know, and there was both a bit of a, you know, shock of it all after that. Is this the same person? What's going on? And with Yaz's feelings, I can kind of understand that. It's too difficult, wouldn't it? You know, to watch that and be there for it. And what did Jodie say? It was something like, you know, the pain is because of all the joy or the good times or something.
Like, it's always hard to say goodbye because of the memories you'd had before or something like that.
Yeah. Which I thought was really, you know, quite poignant. So yeah, I wonder how people will feel, because obviously they didn't kiss or anything.
There's still chemistry there, and
yeah, I felt that it was handled really nicely, and I don't.
I was fulfilled.
Were you filled?
In some ways,
filled.
you were.
That's
yeah,
good.
I really liked it. I think that you know, in some ways, not.
Because it just can't happen. Like, if they did end up, like, kissing or something like that, it would just make it so much harder. And
well, wouldn't it? Because then she's got to go, and that's, yeah.
I know.
You have that one.
I think it could have worked. If they did it, it could have worked. But they didn't, and it still worked.
Were you disappointed there wasn't a kiss between them?
I kind of wanted one just to get that representation, but more for representation than for the story, because it works that they just have this not unrequited love, because it is requited, it's just can't happen because of the situation and the circumstances, and it was better that they just had their moment onto the TARDIS and then, you know, said, one didn't say goodbye, nodded.
Agreed not to say goodbye.
Agreed not to say goodbye. And they had that
Mm.
moment, and they had their chemistry with each other that they've always had. They didn't need to be honest, make it anymore.
No.
They could have, and
I
it
think
They could have, and it would have been fine, but
yeah.
it was fine even without us. Yeah.
As the episode was going, I thought when the Doctor became the Doctor again, I thought, well, maybe they'll kiss here, but they didn't. And I think, I mean, let's be honest, it's one of those storylines that no one's ever going to be universally happy with it for all sorts of reasons, or, you know, people will be happy and people won't be. I think they what they did was perfect for it.
I think if it was in any other show, I think it was in any other show, I'd be more mad. But because it's the Doctor, and because, you know, she genuinely can't properly have a relationship with anybody, especially Yaz, who is, like you said before, so human, that she can't do that. So it just wouldn't have worked, and especially because they almost figured it out too late, in a way. If it had kind of sort of happened before, and Yaz had admitted it, and the Doctor had admitted it before, then I think it would have worked more if they had a relationship. But because it was almost too late in the storyline, but not
too late,
not late enough to not have that.
And also that makes for, you know, some of the best sort of, you know, love story type stuff in a way. You know, when it's unrequited and it's happy and sad at the same time. You know, I think. Does that make sense? I really liked it. So, Paul's not saying anything.
Well, you know, it's what it is. I don't know. I'm a little bit old school when it comes to the Doctor's relationships. I think of all the relationships that the Doctor has had in recent years, this is the one that has felt the most genuine to me.
Thanks,
I never enjoyed the Doctor's relationship with Rose particularly. I felt that was forced in the writing to be what it was.
There was never that natural connection.
No, exactly. It never felt to me like it convinced. I know you probably disagree with that, Jeff, and I know plenty will. But
I mean, I haven't watched it. No, it's fine. I haven't watched it back in, you know, in a long time. And my place in life then was very different to what it is now, and it may not have the same impact on me. I mean, I did really like it, and Doomsday was broke me. But this,
I shouldn't laugh.
but
Sorry,
this
mate.
did.
You told me the story behind that.
No, but that was a long time ago, and but this got me in a different way, and it was
same,
much more real.
Yeah, I felt more connected with the Doctor and Yaz's relationship because, and I think what you said, Frey, is a good point. Actually, you make quite a couple of good points.
Thank you. I know, I'm really
yeah, she's all right, isn't she? Yeah,
took off the old block there. Actually, make him better than me. But I was going to say, it's the point you made that it happened too late. The acknowledgement of a relationship happened too late in their story for it to kind of be anything, possibly. Because actually, I mean, the Doctor knew at the end of Flux that her time was up. She had that confrontation with old time, and was told that nothing lasts forever. Her time is drawing to an end, and it was going to be quite problematic. And then it's a couple of stories later, really, it's the next story when Yaz is forced to confront her feelings for the Doctor, because Dan brings it up at the end of Eve of the Daleks. And then really Legend of the Sea Devils is the one where we get the kind of combination of it all. And the scene on the beach at the end of that is that the Doctor, like you said, Freya, expressly says she can't do this. She can't connect with any time, any place, or any person. She just can't do it. She would like to, and if she could do it, it would be with Yaz, but she can't. But what they've got, the relationship, she would love it if that could last, if it could outlast the both of them, if it could literally last forever. And at the end of Legend of the Sea Devils, because I only watched it last night, that's where they're at. That's what they agreed to do. So in this story, we don't see any continuation of that.
No,
but what we see is an affirmation of that. We see them behaving within those parameters, and actually the relationship between them in this Power of the Doctor seemed really, really strong, because they fill in for each other. Like you said, they've got each other's backs. Yaz no longer really has to look at her hand and say, what would the Doctor do? It's what would Yaz and the Doctor do? They both do the thing. They're both such brilliant companions working together. Like, they just anticipate each other's moves. So when the Master forces that regeneration on the Doctor, and Yaz's feelings are just, the Yaz from Flux, for example, would probably not quite know what to do. She'd probably freak out in a way. She wouldn't know how to handle this situation without looking at her hand. She'd almost be there, but she wasn't quite there. Whereas this now is a Yaz who is so in tune with the Doctor's moments and thoughts and kind of actions that she can stand in. She can do what she needs to do. She can get the TARDIS out of there. She can bring in Vinder. She can save the Doctor, get her back in, put the planet, and she drives it, utterly. And we've always seen the driver of Yaz, but it hasn't always had direction. Now she has direction.
She's always had a bit of self-doubt.
She's always had that self-doubt. But this is a Yaz who didn't have any self-doubt, it didn't seem to me. There was none of it.
If she did, she didn't let it stop her.
No, exactly.
Do you know what? It's almost like she's gone on a journey.
Do you know what? That's incredible,
who
Jeff.
Fell to earth.
I'm sensing some addressing of certain concerns that certain so-called fans have had over the years about Yaz's story. She has had the fullest story across a Doctor's era. I don't think we've ever had anything like this in modern Doctor Who. We really haven't. We had some pressure with
it really is.
Something with Martha, but with Yaz, we've seen right from day one to this one an actual character evolution. That has felt real.
And do you know what?
And do you know what? At the end of it, she's still only human. She hasn't been transcended in any way. She hasn't somehow been changed into something more than human. She is still human. She's still Yaz, and she's a complete
Yasmin
Yaz.
Khan.
And she gets a bittersweet ending, to join the companions there, and who knows what they'll do. And obviously Graham has been off investigating things. Tosin's absence was neatly sideswiped, I thought, but that was fine. But I've said before that I felt that Clara was the most important companion to the Doctors because of her going back into the timelines and helping them all and stuff like that. And she was there when the Doctor was young and talking about fear and stuff like that, and I still think that, but actually, Yaz has grown on me more and more across the tenure, and I think she's been incredibly important in a different way, in a more.
Well, she literally saved the Doctor here, didn't she?
She saved the Doctor, yeah, and she's been there.
Clara sort of saved the Doctor as well,
but it's in a
much more fantastical way. Right?
Yes, yeah, and Yaz has done it in a, I think Yaz and the rest of the fam, to an extent, quote unquote, saved her. You know, when she crashed into the train and she met them and gave her that family and that friendship.
Well.
Yes, I think so. Well, she's put them on a path for, a better, more interesting life.
Back to the Yaz and the woman who fell to Earth, it was so different to the Yaz we had tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Jodie, who's now gone.
She's still alive.
Jodie's still here, but the 13th Doctor
Jodie's Doctor.
Yeah, that's it. Now, do you know what? Casting my mind back to our very first celebrity interview with Mr. Ray Holman, costume designer. And
was that your first one?
Yeah. We spoke to Ray Holman, and I remember asking Ray. We were talking about Jodie's dark coat, the Doctor's dark coat, and I asked him, "Are we likely to see that coat again?" And this was after Legend of the Sea Devils, and he kind of paused a minute. He says, and I think he said, "Well, you never know."
No, it wasn't after Legend of the Sea Devils, but they'd filmed everything by the time we spoke, so he knew. He knew,
Cheeky. He knew.
And you know what? Kudos to everyone for keeping these secrets for a year.
Congratulations.
A year.
I know.
You know what?
And the
Say what you like about
Colin and Peter and Sylvester
incredible.
and Paul McGann. I mean, do you know what? Any time Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, gets any screen time in TV Doctor Who, I literally jump for joy. Because
I love it when
so it's great to see more of it.
She said, why are you not wearing robes? And he said, I don't do that. And then they were like, there's always one.
Yeah. He's the 8th Doctor. He doesn't do robes.
Like, I'm special.
Which is almost like the 5-ish Doctors, because he's a little bit. He's on the phone to his agent, making out that he's always got job offers coming in and everything else, but he hasn't really. It's a lot. So of fun.
We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, and Jodie, has just been.
She's been a fabulous
wonderful
Doctor. Really enjoyed
across the whole thing, and anyone who's listening now and who hasn't listened to some past episodes, we have
go out and have a listen.
Called,
Do it now. Do it now.
We love the 13th Doctor, which is us talking to other fans about why we love Jodie so much. And the other day I wrote a Twitter thread. You wouldn't have seen it.
I would have seen it, mate. I can jump
on
right now and I can have a look.
You could.
I am,
but
in fact, I'm training going on there because there's going to be so much stuff there I'll have to catch up with.
Weeks worth.
Yes.
Sorry, mate. Go
on. But I wrote 13 moments I loved of 13th Doctor, and just little bits on various episodes.
You blessed it in a tweet.
No. I ended up writing about 21 things, and then Twitter was like,
"What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, it's all right. Listen, I was going to do 13, and I ended up with 21, and I could have done about 50. So,
well done.
I've got loads to do, but Twitter was like, "You can't send any more tweets in this thread, so please stop."
She was like, "Calm down."
As I was doing it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that bit was brilliant as well." Oh, so was that bit. Oh, I better look at another episode in this series because I've done quite a lot on this one. Oh, and there's just so many, and I could talk about it endlessly, and I probably do. But she was, she was just.
I've
like
brilliant.
Her first sign tells us.
Indeed.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Brilliant. She's been an absolute breath of fresh air.
Yeah, she has, and I've loved everything she's done, and I didn't want her to go, but obviously these things
have to happen.
Go.
Yes.
And I thought that, like I said earlier, sitting with Yaz, having ice cream, was a really kind of lovely end for the pair of them.
Because she says, "Where do you want to go? The whole of time and space, and what flavour ice cream?"
They just want to do something.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, something normal together, and then. The regeneration, there'd been talk that it was alone on a cliff top. And,
that was such a cool shot, though.
Joe, it was lovely, and it was, I don't know where the rock formation was. Someone will know. But with the energy coming out, and there was sort of a lit. It was I did too.
One love code?
It's like an arch, isn't it? Sort of
Probably
wonky arch.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somewhere.
Must be
Welsh.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but it was really nicely done, and I didn't quite catch what she said just before, but then she said, "So Doctor whomever comes next."
Yes, she did say that.
Tag, you're it.
So Doctor whoever comes
next, look out.
Play tag.
Tag, you're it.
Tag, you're it. Yeah, and do you know what? That's quite befitting for her, because she's always been fun and childlike and optimistic,
and even to a degree as well.
What is that?
Yes, and even in difficult situations, and this episode was packed with kind of danger and stress and difficulty.
And a lot of humour though as well. There was a lot of silliness.
It still had a lot of humour.
There was a lot of fun. It
wasn't too dark and serious.
No, exactly.
It wasn't.
There was a bit of tragedy to it, but it wasn't like the tragedy infused the whole story.
No.
It was every kind of Doctor. This is the only way I can describe it. Every kind of Doctor Who story thrown into one, and just and I the only thing is, I'm not entirely sure whether I can make sense of the actual story, but it's there.
We just need to watch it again.
Story. Just need to watch it again, and
so much.
I think
slow it
and
down
there's so many surprises. So just brain gets full.
I think it all worked, like narratively, but it was so much and so big, and you were so like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's not like a complaint.
It will.
No, exactly. It's not.
No.
It
exactly.
gives me a reason to watch it again, which is great. But
yes, exactly.
Really
It has. No. It has. So much going on in it. You need to. Watch it again.
Yeah.
And hold on 1 second. It all works. I kind of lost my train of thought here. I think the story worked, and there was so much going on within it, but nothing was. I don't think it didn't make sense or anything. But yeah, it's going to be a really good. Rewatch. Before it finished. I already thought, when can I watch this again? I thought Jodie's final words were they were fun.
Very fitting.
Which I think, very fitting. I'd kind of hoped for something like, travel hopefully, or, something like that. But actually this, it's nice to be surprised and not have your...
It's not like she's trying to project her Doctor onto the next one.
No.
She's saying, like, you do you be the next one.
Yes.
You have your whole difference. So, you're it. You take this on. You give it your own spin. I'm done now.
Go.
Bye, kind of thing.
So, what did you think of the outcome of the regeneration?
Do you know what? In the end, actually,
after the little
I was I'm up for it, because I mean, on the one hand, I loved everything leading up to the regeneration. I think the actual regeneration itself looks spectacular. The fact that she walked out to face another sunrise, which is just so this Doctor, she's full of looking ahead and so much in the light. It wasn't about the darkness of the TARDIS or the gloom of the dark, any of that stuff. She walks out to the start of a new day to begin a new life, and somehow becomes. I recognise these teeth, this face, and the clothes had changed as well. So it wasn't just the Doctor. Weird. So obviously something has got in there. Something has interfered with that process, and we all know that the Immortals, many of those races, are really, really good at that. So somebody's obviously hijacked the Doctor's. The 13th.
There's been some corruption in this regeneration.
Well done, very good.
Well, I wondered if it might have been, a result of what went on in this, the forced regeneration and
no, I don't know, possibly. Yeah, it could be, but no, I think it's something interfering in it. I think it's because the Doctor's clothes don't change.
They don't. That's the whole thing about the first episode. You're wearing the other Doctor's clothes. It's the whole transition between those.
Although
Doctors.
Thinking about it, I think actually from William Hartnell to Pat Troughton, I think the first and second Doctor's clothes changed, but that doesn't count.
That's very early.
That's very early.
They hadn't gone traditions yet.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was very strange. But I kind of
the clothes changed was really cool though.
It was actually. It was
good. Sort of burnt,
see
didn't it?
David Tennant in there actually, and initially I was, this is something that's been bubbling around for a while, and seems to have in some way. I don't know. Okay, so
taken over people's thoughts of the episode
to a degree, yeah, and it reminded me in a very bad way of when I was watching Doctor Who in the 80s and starting to become a fan. There was an old guard, if you would, of proper fans, right?
Yeah.
My quotation things are up. Proper fans who said the best thing that could happen to Doctor Who would be if Tom Baker came back and Philip Hinchcliffe produced it, and everything that John Nathan Turner did was kind of wiped out.
Which is what a lot of people were saying.
And we've had that again in some of the online chatter with the return of the 10th Doctor. We know that David Tennant is returning to play the 10th Doctor. We've known that for a while. Or returning to play the Doctor. We don't know if it's the 10th or whatever. But we know David Tennant's there. And, of course, Russell's an old producer who's coming back. And there's that whole thing for people who haven't enjoyed this era as much, thinking, giving it all that kind of spin, which I know you haven't been looking forward to, Jeff. And, frankly, anyone who wants to engage with those conversations with me, bring it on, my friends. But actually don't, because then it wouldn't be fun. But it's... But
I like the way they did it. It wasn't...
Yes, exactly what Freya said. You just finished my sentences.
I know, I'm just talented. I was thinking about it before, and I was like, it'd be really annoying if that happens. But then the way they did it, and with the little teaser after the credits as well.
The teaser was good because it sort of
set up the new bit, and I was like, oh, okay, something's messing with it. It's not just like.
And we saw
Shishigatwa.
We saw Shishigatwa. So that was interesting. Yeah. So that was interesting because. I didn't think he'd filmed anything yet, or there was a rumor he had filmed something. So he's obviously...
because it's just nobody had seen him filming, so loads of people assumed that he wasn't. So then loads of people assumed that the 14th Doctor would be David Tennant. But then nobody really knows what number.
He's obviously not really outside there.
It's already online, isn't it? You know that moment. This is on the BBC Twitter now that I've looked at it.
Donna,
can someone tell me what the hell is going on here? Yeah, that's it. So we're already looking ahead now, and that's a great thing about Doctor Who. It's always looking forward. And I was really concerned that actually, when we're bringing back an older producer with somebody who has previously played the Doctor, playing the Doctor with a companion, I kind of think as soon as Doctor Who starts going backwards, it will be the end of it. And it's fine. That's different from bringing in things that are part of its past in order to move the train forward. But I think,
which they did in this episode
we've got the best
it wasn't pointless.
This is currently 100 years centenary of the BBC, right? So it's that celebration. The next episode is 60 years of Doctor Who, and I think as with the 10th and the 20th anniversary episodes and with the 50th anniversary episodes, we can have these things happening. It's perfect,
and it can be mental Doctor Who-iness.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's write that one down. Mental Doctor Who-iness.
It's an official word now.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and do you know, I've loved every moment with Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor. I've enjoyed every single story. They've surprised me, they've entertained me, and I don't think there's ever been a run of stories since I started really watching Doctor Who back in the 80s that have really done this for me in the same way. So. We've always got those. They're always here, and I'm always going to rewatch them, and I'm always going to enjoy them. And no doubt, I'm always going to find more in each of them to enjoy because they just seem to have more rewatch value than any other series, for me at least, in the modern era. But that said, I am still really, really looking forward to what's going to happen next.
Never going to stop being a fan, are you?
I'm never going to stop being
No,
until it starts going
course
backwards.
not.
Unless it goes drastically wrong.
Yeah, until that train starts moving back. I mean, there's a lot of carriages on that train. It's got a lot of history to pull down its tracks. But as long as the fuel of creativity is stoking its engines, then I will always be a happy passenger in that buffet car. I will expect VIP first-class treatment, of course, but nonetheless, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll still be watching, of course. So I'm not going to stop. I wouldn't do that. I'm still a bit mixed on things. And I've talked about that, and that's fine. I'm sure it will be great. I'm sure, in a year's time, I'll be saying that's what I was worried about.
It's so far away.
Well, it is far away.
Far away the whole year.
Yeah,
so
unless they surprise us with something, one of these episodes at, Easter or something. I don't know, but kind of.
You've got exams between now. You're going to be in sixth form by the time we see what happens next after the story. And by the time we see the 14th Doctor's first episode, you're going to be. Would you be uni by then?
That's going to be the year
after. That's like 3 years.
2 years. So you're going to be in your last sixth form year.
But there's supposed to be 3 special episodes. So unless
is there between now and when?
But with Tennant, that's what I've read anyway. So unless
from where? An official source, Jeff, or is it online chit chat?
I think it. No, I think it was on the press release. So unless they all air over the course of a week next November or something. I don't know. I don't know why you'd put them out earlier in the year when that's not part of the 60th, unless it leads up to something that.
Well, look, I suppose you can kind of say the 60th could be the whole of 2023.
It could be.
Yes.
When did it exactly come out?
Yes, November 23rd, 63.
Well done.
Here's the thing.
Knowledge.
Here's the thing I've just seen, actually, on the BBC site. David Tennant has appeared as the 14th Doctor. Talking about the future, Russell T Davies, showrunner, said, "If you thought the appearance of David Tennant was a shock, we got plenty more surprises on the way. The path to Shooty's 15th Doctor is laden with mystery, horror, robots, puppets, danger and fun." Okay, so Shooty Gatwa is the 15th Doctor. David Tennant is the 10th.
But if you count all the different Doctors, we're probably on 30 at least by now. We're on infinity if you count all the timeless child, everything.
Yeah, it's true. It's best not to count them, really.
Just call them by the actors' names.
I'm going to go on. I'm going to say I thought this episode was the perfect culmination and wrap up of this era, and it was pretty perfect for me. It was action packed. It was funny. It was full of surprises. It was emotional. It did it all really. They really went out on a high here. I loved it. It's a bit of a weird feeling, isn't it, when it's all over? When we've talked about episodes before, we know we've got another one next week, or
again, we know we've got more coming.
Months or.
Just not with this Doctor.
Yeah.
Next year.
No, but this is how much it's it's connected with me. It's a very odd feeling
It's very weird.
at the moment. Shall I go to some
comments
comments that we've had
read
in?
some out, because I haven't seen them, so these are new to me, and we're on an hour and 22
Let's hear it.
Yes, let's run through these quickly. So, first one, Tyler at Tyler_A13X says, "It was 99% perfect. Thasmin needed slightly more, but my only complaint about 13's era has been them stopping the endings just shy of perfect, so this tracks of that. Was missing a handhold on the TARDIS date at the end, a hug, or Yaz saying that she needed to leave. Other than missing the mark slightly on Thasmin, it was incredible. The regen was perfectly 13 and perfectly captured Jodie. It was upsetting but not traumatising. An era of hope indeed." Yeah, that's quite a good description there. Well done.
That representation.
But like you said, is it for would it help the story?
No, it's just for the sake of representation, to make people feel better that they have someone.
But then maybe something like this, given the setup, needs to have that sort of payoff, perhaps. Yeah. I don't know.
I understand it. I like it.
Gail, who's currently called Ghoul Wright, who's at Mealy Garage, says, "Seeing the old Doctors and companions, Ian was the highlight for me. Sad we have to wait over a year for more Who, though."
So sad.
Orinoco McGee, who's at Deadly Night, Absolutely loved every second of it. Made me incredibly emotional several times throughout the episode. I didn't want it to end. Amazing and beautiful. The ending was gorgeous, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Jodie, Mandip and Sasha were phenomenal. Everyone was brilliant. And then Alex Gibbons, who's at Who Target, says it was very good, but a bit floppy in some parts. So
floppy.
At the moment on what one, I don't know how you could think it was floppy, Alex, when it powered along like that.
Maybe that's it. Maybe there were some elements that seemed disconnected.
Some of them didn't seem quite finished.
Yes,
but again, on a rewatch, they might hang together.
there was one. Remind me, I had a couple of thoughts about there's something I was going to say, and I'll come to that in the end. But they will watch it and review it for their podcast again. Love the cameos and a great new gen
definitely.
into Tennant. Gaze in Space, who's at Thasmin124, said when the 50th aired and we got one scene that truly celebrated a classic Doctor, it was like a betrayal to all that had come before. And now we see how easy it is to honour the show's history. Seeing Paul McGann in his costume was such a delight. That's good. That's good. Our friend Aidan CG01 says a brilliant end to an amazing era. Not often Doctor Who makes me cry, but this episode did it for me.
I cry at every
From the Doctor
regeneration.
meeting Ace and Tegan to the visions of 15678 appearing until just before the regeneration happened and the returning companions. The regen was beautiful, the effects were amazing, 13's last words were great, and Tennant is back. Absolutely brilliant. Roll on 2023. I'm sad to see Jodie go, and they sent her off brilliantly. I'm excited for what's to come. I think I need to lie down. There's another tweet came in here from Gaze in Space that says, so glad to finally see a queer story end happy. We all knew the tragedy of loving the Doctor was that it would never last, but it doesn't have to go out in a sad note despite that. Yaz will forever know who she is because of her time.
I think
I like that.
That's it.
That sums it up really nicely, I think, actually. Quokka Mokka, who's at Mokka Quokka, who we've had tweets from before, says, absolutely brilliant. I wasn't actually expecting much from it, but it really proved me wrong. Not exaggerating.
One of the few people, I think, who wasn't expecting much from this story. I think most people were expecting everything and then some,
Oh, this is great. Not exaggerating, I say I was in floods of tears throughout it. I haven't enjoyed an episode of DW this much for a while. Looking forward to the next one. Jem, who's at Jem Gillum, says, such a ride. Love the cheesy Rasputin dancing to Ra-Ra-Rasputin. That's been needing to be televised ever since that song came out. Surprised and delighted by all the past Doctors, especially McGann. Such a tearjerker at the end. And then they done another tweet. Managed to pause and explain to the kids who Ace is, and then everyone delighted in the Ace and Dalek action. Winterfell TARDIS at Winterfell Tard1. Absolutely loved it. Jodie was incredible. Mandip and Sasha too. Sophie and Janet amazing. Cameos were really well handled. Paul McGann and William Russell moments were really special. Finally, sad to see Jodie go, but she's magnificent, and I'm sure we'll see her again. Our friend Lautaro Medina at Dr. Lautaro says, is top regeneration story for me, full of twists and turns, great things done with the Master and the Daleks and the Cybermen, all the Easter eggs, and the ending made me cry. James H, who's at FitGeek_UK, says, oh, so that is what Day of the Doctor should have been like. An amazing celebration of all of Doctor Who.
What's this?
Yeah, I like Day of the Doctor, but it's quite interesting. There have been a couple of slightly negative comments towards it here. Yes, it was a greatest hits affair at times, but an emotional.
Love everything and anything, and it's possible to hate everything.
And that's what these.
And
Well, that's
partially
not much
hate
fun, is
things.
it?
I
and
love
partially
the
love
Day
things.
of the Doctor. I think it's
It's an
fabulous.
epic. Yeah, it's really good. Mac Granger 223, whose username is at mgranger223. What an emotional journey that was. I laughed, Boney M. I cried, pretty much from the start all the way to the finish. I cheered, so many bits. Yaz flying the TARDIS, Ace smashing a Dalek, Graham, Kate. Costumes were gorgeous. Special shout out to the multi-Doctor outfit. We've got to talk to Ray about that at some point.
What's that, Jeff?
The multi-Doctor
Oh my
outfit.
goodness, yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking,
I've never seen
we've got it. There's got to be
marks outside of a quiz show.
No. a brilliant mishmash of past and present. Music was beautiful, especially as the Doctor regenerated.
It was all fabulous. The music and the effects. You can see how actually I was watching this thinking, this is why it's taken so long in post-production.
That's why it took forever.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah,
it's all there.
I remember watching a Graham Norton show of Mum, just after Jodie had rapped, and now I think back to it, I'm like, that was so long ago. Like that was just over a year ago.
Well, again, all those secrets kept. So long. It's been an absolutely cracking episode.
It was amazing.
I've loved it.
Yeah.
A superb
Did you love it,
finale
I
for this era.
loved it, darlings.
Great. So this is going out on the 23rd of October. We're going to be announcing a new guest on Monday that I think people will be excited to put questions to. And then tomorrow morning, and then very soon we will also have our podcast with Colin Baker that was recorded before Power of the Doctor went out, which is why he couldn't tell us. So that will be one to look out for when it goes out. And then we've got more stuff planned and some more interviews with people connected to the show as well. So keep a lookout for those. But as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us, and we will see you very soon.
Take care, listeners. Until the next time. Bye for now.